Hello, and welcome to Foundations for Algebra, Unit 2A, Lesson 7. Today's objective is scholars will categorize linear equations in one variable as having one, none, or infinitely many solutions. So, let's think about this equation. 4x plus 1 equals 3. What is a value that makes this equation false? Well, that's actually pretty simple. If I put in x equals 1, that would make it false. 4 times 1 plus 1 equals 3 is not true. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 1, 5 does not equal 3. So this x equals 1 would make it false. What is a value that makes this equation true? So when I'm talking about what value makes this equation true, that can be a little bit more difficult. Let's think about that for just a minute. Let's think about this for a minute. I can solve this equation, right, to find out the value of x that makes it true. First, I can subtract 1 from both sides. Which could be 4x equals 2, divide both sides by 4. It give me x equals 1/2. So that one would make it true. It's a little bit harder to find the one value that makes it true. You can choose almost any number to make it false. So let's look real quick at this. How many different values of x make this equation true? How many different values of x would make this equation true? So Cheryl, show you this a little bigger. Cheryl said x equals 2 because here's her work. There's only one value that makes for x that makes it true, is what she's saying. She's saying that when x equals 1/2, it's true. Okay, so then let's look at what Stacy said. Stacy said it always has to be true. To make 2x, it must be half because 4 times 1/2 equals 2. So x can't be any other value. So they're both giving the same value of x, but they're giving us a little bit different reasoning. So we're going to use this type of reasoning as we solve equations like this. So what does it mean and how can we prove it? We have different options. What does always true? Ooh, that's not what I meant to do. Sorry. What does always true mean? Always true means the equation is true for any value of x. We can prove it by showing that when the equation is simplified, we end up with a true equation, something like x equals x, 5 equals 5. Then what does it mean to be never true? That means that there are no values of x that make the equation true. We can prove it by showing that when the equation is simplified, we end up with an untrue statement. Something like 5 equals 0, 4 equals 12. Those would tell me that it is never true. And finally, the last option is that it is sometimes true. So how many examples does it take to prove that something is sometimes true? In this case, we need 2 examples. I need you to give me one value for x that makes the equation true and one value that makes the equation false. So that's what you have to do for is it sometimes true. These are your directions for your task. You're going to work in partners. You must pair up and make sure that both of your names are on the assignment. One partner will select an equation, choose if they think it is always, sometimes, or never true. They'll write that and explain their choice. If they think it is sometimes true, they're going to give values of x where it is true and where it is not true. If you think it is always true or never true, you're going to explain how you can be sure. Your partner should then challenge the explanation if they disagree, or if they agree, they have to describe it in their own words. Once you all agree, you're going to write an explanation next to the equation. There's going to be a column for that. The explanation should be written in red. Finally, you're going to swap roles and take turns until all the equations have been identified. So let's look at what we might do for an equation like this. So in order to try to figure out whether this is always, sometimes, or never true, the first thing I'm going to do is try to simplify it. So I'm going to use my distributive property. 5 times 2x gives me 10x. 5 times 1 gives me 5. 2 times 2x gives me 4x. 2 times 5 gives me 10. So that was my distributive property. The next thing I'm going to do is combine some like terms. So I have 10x plus 5 equals, these combined, 4x and 6x is 10x plus 10. So next I'm going to subtract my 10x from both sides. So I have 10x minus 10x plus 5 equals 10x minus 10x plus 10. When I combine my like terms, I get 5 equals 10 because the 10x's are going to, 10x's will cancel on each side. So I'm left with 5 equals 10. This is not a true statement. So this is my reasoning that this is never true. This equation would be never true. And that's what I would write in the column, and this would be my reasoning right here. Okay, if you have any questions, see me in class. I'll talk to you all later.